PokeClass is sponsored by CollectorsCash.com, and they now have Dark Explorers in stock at incredible prices. Are you looking for that last card to complete your deck, or looking to boost your collection in any set of the game? Then Collectors Cash is where you need to be. They stock all of your boxes, tins, and singles of Pokemon, and any other card game for that matter, at very competitive prices. So make sure you visit www.collectorscash.com after the show. Hey everybody, and welcome to PokeClass episode 77, where I'm going to be going over my UK Nationals report. UK Nationals was last Saturday. It was a great event as always, and I'll be showing you my deck list first and then giving you a report of the event and how I did. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. So as you can probably tell, I did play Darkrai. It seemed to be the most winning deck of Battle Roads. I did change up a bit. Darkrai Tornadus was the most winning deck of Battle Roads, but I decided to change it up and just go for a straight Darkrai deck. All I had was Darkrai as a main attacker and one support attacker as well. So it's really strong as an attacker because you can do 90 with Night Spear and 30 damage to one of the bench Pokemon, for those of you that don't know what it does. And the ability Dark Cloak allows you to have free retreat for any Pokemon on your side of the field that has Darkness Energy attached. So these two paired together make for really interesting combos. Night Spear's extra damage really allows you to take extra prizes when you either go second or you're falling behind in a close game. And I mainly wanted to run a straight Darkrai deck because of this card, which is Super Scoop Up and Max Potion. By running straight Darkrai with Super Scoop Up and Max Potion, you have the room to run those cards because you're not running stuff like Double Colorless or Tornadus EX, and I found that the deck really had a good Terrakion matchup anyway, because you can capture around it, make smart plays and avoid retaliates at all costs and still survive them when you take into account Eviolite and stuff. So I focused on healing the Darkrai's and keeping them in play as long as possible. I expected to play a lot of Darkrai Mirrors and Zekromiel's matches, which this deck has incredibly good matchups against, because you can just... Usually the matchups are two hitting each other, which is another strong thing about this version of the deck. Darkrai is mainly going to be getting two shot, so with Max Potion and Super Scoop Up, you can mess their maths up basically. You can reset their damage and keep on attacking as normal. So as I was saying, it has strong Zekromiels and Darkrai mirror matches, and I expect to play those on the day, so that's why I chose this deck. So let's go on to the list. First up, I have 3 Darkrai EX. I would like to run 4, but I did choose to put Super Rod in at the last minute, so I didn't feel like I needed 4. I'd rather start with Smeargle than Darkrai, to be fair, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I've already explained what Darkrai does, main attacker of the deck and main support with its Dark Cloak as well. And I wanted this deck to be as consistent as possible because Nationals is a massive event for us in the UK. 7 rounds with a top 16 is a lot to get through, and I just wanted it to be as consistent as possible to get through the Swiss rounds. So, highlighting the consistency, I added 3 Smeargle. People usually run 2 or even 1 Smeargle in these lists, but I felt 3 Smeargle with its Portrait Poker Power. Once during your turn, before you attack, you can look at your opponent's hand, choose a supporter and use it as your own. So that's just for those of you that don't know what it does. But it allows you to use multiple supporters per turn. Sometimes you can use 2 portraits because you can switch into another one, use Super Scoop Up, Retreat, stuff like that. It's just a really good support Pokemon to give you the quickest attack as possible. Most of the time, about 90% of the time, I get a turn 2 Night Spear just because I was able to use Smeargle's Portrait to copy a support, and it's just really easy to get out of dead hands, and yeah, general consistency is a booster, and I just included 3 for that exact reason. Next card is my one alternative attacker, which is Mewtwo EX. Now Mewtwo EX is an incredible attacker in any deck pretty much. X-Ball does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to Mewtwo and the defending Pokemon added together, and I mainly included this because during testing I was just getting swept by ridiculous energy powered up Mewtwo's. If they have like 7, 8, 9, 10 energy on them, they can just sweep my Darkrai's and I'll lose pretty quickly, so that's why this is in here. And it can also set up sweeps itself with this next card, which is Shaman from Unleashed, which I have 2 of in this list. Celebration Wind allows you to, as soon as you put Shaman onto your bench, you can move all your energy around in play. So So what this allows to do, combos well with Super Scoop Up because you can use it multiple times per game, and I can also use Max Potion and not lose any energy. Sometimes you want to lose the energy because of Dark Patch, but when I want to conserve the energy, I can retreat into a fresh Darkrai, shaman the energy across and use Max Potion to heal a damaged Darkrai. That was the main combo of the deck, and it worked really well on the day and during testing, so I decided to include 2 of these, and it can set up incredible Mewtwo sweeps as well as responding to Mewtwo's that have already been set up against me. So those are the only Pokemon I run, just general consistency boosters and attackers basically. So onto the supporters and trainers, of which I have Staff with for Professor Oak's New Theory. This is just a pretty standard draw supporter. I'll run the maximum of them to try and stay as consistent as possible, and it's just a general card to draw cards basically, as you all know. Just shuffle and draw 6, and yeah, it just gets me off to the quickest start possible. After that, I have another 4 of card, which is Professor Juniper. Professor Juniper is one of the best cards in this deck. It can not only get you a fresh hand of 7, but it can also get you energy into the discard pile. So discard your hand, draw 7 cards, and you can just discard your energy, draw 7 new cards, and when you use this in conjunction with other supporters that you've portraited off your opponent, you can get really strong starts and help me to get turn 2 Night Spears most of the time. And my last 2 supporters are 2N. I really was considering not running N at all, but it's just a really strong comeback card. If you get bad starts or get behind in the game and really want to put your opponent under some pressure, use N, shuffle them down to a minimum amount of cards, it can be 1, 2 or 3, and they can really struggle for the rest of the game. It does screw up your random receivers a bit, so I was debating taking these out and putting max random receiver in, but eventually it helped me in a lot of games, so I'm not going to complain too much about it. Speaking of random receiver, I run 3 of these just to stay as consistent as possible, which is the main aspect of my deck. You're going to hit a support every time, whether it's an N, a Juniper, or a Pont. You will always get a fresh hand of 6, 7, or possibly even less, but you will still be able to search certain supporters out when you need them, when in conjunction with the next card, which is for Junkarm. Now Junkarm is gone now technically for people who aren't going to Worlds, but it's such an incredibly strong card, so it's a foreign one there, but allows you to reuse trainers such as Dark Patch, Random Receiver, Catcher, anything just to boost your consistency and get energy onto the field as quickly as possible. Combos amazingly with Dark Patch later on in the game to get Darkrai set up in 1 turn, and you can't really run less than 4 to be honest. Speaking of running 4 and Dark Patch, here's Dark Patch, which I run 4 of. It's the main energy acceleration of Darkrai, allows you to get turn 1, turn 2, and allows you to just set up Darkrai's in 1 turn, which is an incredible ability to have, as well as attach multiple energies per turn, even if you're not using them for Darkrai, and shaming them across to like Mewtwo later on. Allows you to attach, for those of you who don't know what it does, it allows you to attach a basic Dark from your discard pile to a benched Dark Pokemon, and because I'm only using Darkrai as an attacker and Shaman to move it across, it's a perfect card to have 4 of. Another card I have 4 of, which keeps consistency as high as possible, is Pokemon Catcher, which is incredibly strong in this deck, better than any other deck I'd argue, because you can set up really unique prizes, take double or even triple prizes in some games, maybe even quadruple when you evolve EXs. It allowed me to set up lots of double KOs on Terrakions, and also allowed me to get double KOs on other things that really kept me in the game when I was falling a little bit behind, going second or something like that. Really great card in this format, and will continue to be a great card in the following formats, Black and White on. So next are my Pokemon search cards, which I have 2 Dual Ball and 2 Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball is great for getting energy into the discard pile early on, because you discard 2, search for any Pokemon. Great for getting a Shaymin when I didn't want to rely on the flips. And Dual Ball did become a pain in some of the games, but because I run Mewtwo and Shaymin, I didn't want to run just Ultra Ball, because sometimes I'd need 2. I don't think I hit double heads throughout the whole tournament actually, so I would change to get Ultra Ball, but another thing was Dual Ball works really well with Junkarm. If you Junkarm for an Ultra Ball, you're wasting 4 cards just to grab a Pokemon, and Dual Ball can be Junkarmed for and get you some Pokemon when you really need them. So I wouldn't really change much, maybe take out one of these Dual Balls, sorry, for another Ultra Ball, but it's not going to make too much difference. It worked really well on the day. And some key cards for my strategy now are 4 Super Scoop Ups, which keep my Darkrai's alive as long as possible, stop getting free prizes taken against me on stuff like bench hitting Shaymins and Smeagol's, and just keeps my Darkrai's alive for as long as possible. An Eviolite Darkrai stays in play for quite a while, usually around 3 turns when you're not taken into weakness or anything like that. But yeah, it just really helped me. Super Scoop Up won me a lot of games when I needed to Shaymin Energy across so I can max potion, when I needed to pick up a Darkrai that was heavily damaged to stop my opponent taking prizes. Just really helped. And speaking of Eevee, I have my 4 tools up next, of which I ran 2 Eviolite and 2 Dark Claw. Eviolite just sponges damage and keeps Darkrai in play for as long as possible before I Shaymin the energy off them, use Max Potion or use Super Scoop Up, and Dark Claw is mainly in there for Terrakion and hitting over the 90 damage cap that Darkrai usually has, since I don't run double Special Dark. Dark Claw just allows me to attack a Terrakion and then attack a benched one with the 30 damage, catch her to reverse the 2 Terrakions and take double prizes to avoid retaliate. That worked a hell of a lot in my Terrakion matchups. May not have worked to win me the game, but it certainly kept me in the game, so I wouldn't change much about that. And my 2 crucial cards in this deck and amazing techs are Max Potion. It allows you to heal all damage from one Pokemon and discard the energy. Sometimes it just allows you to get energy into the discard pile, and other times it just allowed you to Shaymin the energy off and keep Darkrai's alive for as long as possible. Just an amazing card in this deck, and I wouldn't change anything about it. And last but not least, in the trainers and supporters, I have Super Rod. Super Rod was a kind of a last minute inclusion. I didn't have it in, but when I was facing stuff like Terrakion and when I was using Ultra Ball, I sometimes found myself discarding Shaymins and crucial Darkrai's when other ones were prized. If I had one Shaymin prized, I used Ultra Ball, I couldn't get it back for that in the rest of the game, and I only had one Shaymin to work with. So that's the main reason for Super Rod, just to save my Pokemon and get Mewtwo back crucially as well. And my energy count is 11 normal Dark. I didn't run Special Dark. If I would change anything, I would put some Special Dark in, but with Dark Claw, I didn't really find myself running out of damage output and running out of energy either. It's just a perfect amount of energy. Don't run double colourless because I don't run Tornadus. Would have helped with Mewtwo, but yeah, that's pretty much my list. Try it out if you are going 2 worlds or testing 4 worlds, because I find it to be an incredibly strong choice when you're expecting to play against lots of Zekrom and Darkrai Tornadus mirror matches. It's just a really great deck, and I'm glad I took it, glad how well it went, and yeah, do try it out if you want to carry on playing this format until the rotation officially starts. So now that you've seen my list, I'm going to go over to my report right now. So now that you've seen the deck list that I used, I'll move on to my report. On the day, we had around 80 Masters, which meant we had 7 Swiss rounds with a top 16 cut, the biggest tournament as usual of the year. Making 5-2 would almost guarantee you a top cut place as long as you had decent resistance, but the possibility of a bubble was still quite high. The field was actually pretty strange, to be honest. There was a lot of variety in decks, and my deck, as you've just seen, was all about beating Zekrom and Darkrai, which there wasn't as much of as I predicted, but let's go on with the report and see how it went. Round 1, I was paired against a guy playing Zekrom Eels, one of the matchups I had been testing for a long time, and my deck was made to beat this, so I was feeling good for the game. Turns out, he goes first with a Mewtwo start, and by turn 2, he's able to get 2 double colourless on it to start KOing my Smeagol attempts to set up. However, his bench was looking pretty empty and no evolutions were hitting the field. I do manage to get Darkrai set up by around turn 3 with Eevee on it, and his Tornadus EX is taking blows quite nicely, but I'm able to set up a double KO on 2 Tynamos to bring the lead forward. With my combination of Max Potion and Shaymin, I was able to reset his Power Blast and could snatch the double prize for the game, onto 1-0 and feeling good. Round 2 was actually an incredibly strange game. My opponent starts with a Mewtwo and goes first, with exactly the same thing happening. 2 double colourless wrecking my first Smeagol, but we both have no supporters in hand, and I hit double tails on Dual Ball to top it off. It gets even tougher when she drops a Terrakion and a second Mewtwo, and we're all still hitting no supporters, so my Smeagol does nothing before hitting the discard again. I finally top deck a random receiver and immediately hit an N, which is exactly the card I did not want to see, so I don't play it and the top decking continues. To be honest, the game is really slow and I have to play the Ns getting an energy to start using a Dark Clawed Night Spear on a captured Terrakion to start dealing with these fighting types before they start retaliating. Luckily for me, she draws badly off of the end since she only got to draw 3 or 4 cards, and I managed to gain some momentum. Near the end, I just need 1 Super Scoop Up heads to pick up my Shaymin, move all the energy to a fresh Darkrai and KO double Terrakion without losing the game to a catcher on my damaged Darkrai. Of course, I missed a flip from the 3 super scoop ups in my hand, and she hits the catcher for a double prize and all my energy is gone. A very strange but close game, and on to 1-1. My next opponent turns out to be running a mono fighting deck, which I actually don't mind playing since I had tested it a lot and can manipulate my energy on Tool Darkrai's to get double KOs on Terrakions before they cause me too much trouble. He starts with the Mewtwo, third one in a row, and I catch a Terrakion to start getting some damage on the field with a turn 2 Night Spear. I managed to set up a double KO on 2 Terrakions to get rid of all the energy on the field, with him having no return to my fresh Darkrai, but then he benches a third Terrakion with experience share. I still take the double prize since he can no retaliate, and things get really close. He hits the plus power he needs to get a KO on my Darkrai with retaliate, and I'm trying my best to take my last 2 prizes with Mewtwo on his that is sitting on the bench. I capture around his Terrakion to start manipulating his energy drops, but he manages to hit the switch after I whiff an N on my random receiver, and Juniper's for the plus power and catcher he needs for the game to carry my damaged Darkrai on the bench. So now I'm on 1-2, my 2 losses being to Terrakions that I had really close games with and could have taken with a bit of better luck, but hey, that's Pokemon and I have to win out to hope to make cut. My next game is against Durant, which I did not play test against whatsoever with this deck, but figured that I had pretty decent matchup since I have free retreat on all my Pokemon and can KO 2 ants at the same time, and that's pretty much how the game went. I managed to get a Darkrai up very slowly, I might add, since I had to Juniper a couple of times to get it, something I really didn't want to do against this deck. Hitting a Crushing Hammerheads for him gave me the opportunity to Dark Patch, attach to the active and start KOing ants all over the place and take all 6 prizes fairly quickly. On to 2-2 now, I needed to keep up a winning streak to make cut still. My next opponent was playing Darkrai Tornadus, which is exactly what I wanted to see since I've tested that matchup a hell of a lot and my list was geared towards winning this particular matchup. However, my opponent goes first, uses Portrait twice on my Juniper in hand and uses his own to get a turn 1 Night Spear, luckily on my Darkrai as it didn't start with Smeargle. So dodging that bullet, I was still in for a tough game since I'm getting hit for 90 straight away and need at least 2 turns to get Night Spearing myself. However, while I'm doing this, I'm able to attach a dart to each of my Darkrai's, keep cycling them around and use Max Potion to reset his massive lead, and end up capitalizing on him having discarded so many resources in the beginning of the game. All 4 of his Junk Arm and Dark Patch are gone along with his double colourless, so I'm able to finish off a Darkrai with a huge Mewtwo, and he loses all his energy while I sweep for the rest of the game. My deck worked perfectly even when falling far behind in the beginning, and I was still feeling good for a 5-2 finish. My next game was annoyingly against my brother, not only because whoever loses is definitely out of the running for top cut, but he is also playing Klinklang, a deck I'd obviously tested against but was still incredibly hard to beat. I managed to get a turn 2 Night Spear with various portraits and Shaman shenanigans and get a KO on one of his Klinks, but he's able to get a Klinklang into play and start messing with his energy. Even more unfortunate for me is that 2 of my Darkrai's are prized, so I need to get a quick start to even have a way out of this game. A crucial point during the game involved a Night Spear on his Klinklang, and he needed to hit the Max Potion to avoid his only Klinklang going down. He misses the Max Potion and I'm able to KO his Klinklang and any other further Klinks that come down for the game just after time is called. Turns out his Groudon EX was actually prized in this game and he drew it from his prizes 1 turn too late to tip the prizes into his favour before time was called. So a narrow victory brings me on to 4-2 and only 1 more win is needed for a top cut spot. My last game of Swiss was against a Zekrom Eels player who doesn't play Terrakion, so I was feeling good for my chances since I loved playing this matchup and it should go better without having to worry about Terrakion. However, my deck decided to crap out on me on the most important game in the tournament as I prized 2 of my Darkrai's again and hit 4 tails on Dual Ball after junk arming away important stuff for later on. This means I'm staring down a turn 2 Disaster Bolt from his Thunderous, carrying my Smeargle as I fish for my only Darkrai. I do manage to hit the Darkrai after playing an Ultra Ball and KO his Thunderous and all his energy with a Dark Clawed Night Spear. He actually manages to get double electric into play and has a pretty slow turn, so I'm feeling okay for the rest of the game, especially when he benches a Mewtwo with double colourless, but I've discarded my Mewtwo already fishing for Dual Balls on the first turn and need my Super Rod to secure the game. I whiff the Super Rod, which means I can just take a single prize off a Smeargle to stop him portraiting and try to get my Darkrai from my prizes. I do hit the Darkrai, but he goes ahead and Junk Arms twice for a double plus power, attaches 2 more energy with Dynamotor and Ponce for the second double colourless he needs for a KO. He hits a double colourless and takes a massive KO on my only Darkrai in play, and I need to respond. I couldn't see this coming, but I do manage to bench my Darkrai and a Mewtwo, Dark Patch to Darkrai, attach an energy to Mewtwo, Shaman the Dark across and attach an Eviolite to save the easy Revenge Mewtwo KO to take a crucial KO with the prizes tied at 2 apiece, and he needs a comeback after an N for 3 on my side. With 4 cards in his hand, he has the perfect response in the form of a Mewtwo, Junk Arm for plus power, and he needs to hit another double colourless from a Juniper of his to win. Of course, he hits the energy, double Dynamotors to Mewtwo, and X-Balls my Mewtwo for the win. So my Nationals day ends at 4-3, with my deck running badly in the most crucial game of the day, which I couldn't really do anything about. I was very happy with how my deck played overall, and it was just luck at the end of the day stopping me from top cutting. Regardless of that, I'm looking forward to next season with Black and White on, and had a great day as usual at Nationals. The finals turned out to be Zekromeals with Terrakion against Valpy Mismagius Terrakion, with Zekromeals coming out on top, which finally brings home a Nationals win for one of the classic decks of the format. Thank you for watching this episode of PokeClass. How did you all do at Nationals this year? Please comment below, and it was great meeting all of you at the weekend as well. Please check out my other videos, including my recent news update with very interesting new cards from Japan, and watch out for Black and White on battle videos coming this week. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week for the first Black and White onwards deck analysis. Make sure you subscribe, like this episode, and comment below as usual, and make sure you have a great week.